For a moment, the Hoddle Street killings and the Queen Street massacre, just months apart in Melbourne in 1987, had set the backdrop for that year's ultimately fruitless National Gun Summit. The gun violence continued in...
Pause it. I summon you.
How can I help?
Can you shapeshift into... what? What? My older sister, who is 28 years old.
Sure thing.
Cool.
Here we go.
with one or more shootings in 1990, 91, 92,
Yeah.
and 93.
Is that good?
In 10
Yeah.
years, Australia experienced
Yeah.
12 mass shootings, abruptly ending the lives of 98 people. While gun ownership was common across the nation's history, the increase in mass shootings and the high firearm death rate of 2.84 per 100,000 people, well above England's rate of 0.42 per 100,000, were becoming too much for most Australians to bear. By 1996, punctuated by the most horrific shooting of them all, Australians had had enough. In a poll run days after the Port Arthur massacre, 90% of the 2,058 respondents supported a national ban on automatic and semi-automatic firearms, and 88% supported registration requirements for all firearms. Simply put, average, everyday Australians were ready for change. But popular public attitudes won't move policy alone. A fundamental restructuring of Australian gun laws was anything but a foregone conclusion in the wake of Port Arthur. Any attempt at sweeping change would have to navigate around the country's powerful gun lobby, a vocal and impassioned minority of rural Australians wary of government overreach, and the fact that gun policy was governed not by the federal government, but by states. And yet, the day after the shooting, John Howard, Australia's Prime Minister for all of 48 days, announced his effort to push through major gun law reform. Howard and his coalition government had ample room to cop out, to throw their hands up and say it was a state-level issue. Instead, they pushed on. As he later reflected, quote, "You never let a good crisis go to waste. Tragic though the event was, it gave us an opportunity to do something in the wake of it so that those lives were not lost in vain." In the days that followed, cabinet meetings poured over studies pulled together by non-governmental groups like the Coalition for Gun Control and previously internally produced policy recommendations that followed the Melbourne shootings. Outside of cabinet meetings, Howard urged representatives from his coalition of Liberal and National Party members to stand with him. But as Howard applied pressure on Conservatives representing rural Australia, so too did the nation's gun lobby, which organized marches, street demonstrations, and speeches. Ultimately,
it's interesting how it's such a similar situation with the rural versus city dwellers. The only difference is your rural isn't 50% of your population. And a lot of those 50%, like, there's a lot of people in the United States who have a lot of guns, like, a lot. Like, it's literally a hobby for some people, like, just shooting guns, collecting guns. So it's just so ingrained in our culture.
The lobby's mobilization proved detrimental to its own cause, as arguments made in media that 99.9% of gun owners abide by the law, for example, gave way to high-profile figures like the vice president of the Firearm Owners Association threatening bloodshed if stricter regulations went through. In less than a week after the Port Arthur massacre, the political determination emanating from Parliament had resulted in a cabinet agreement on a prohibition on automatic rifles, semi-automatic rifles, and pump-action shotguns, the creation of a national firearm registration system, and a compensation fund for a gun buyback program. 4 days later, on May 10th, the Prime Minister hosted the police ministers from all states and territories to present the 10-point plan that soon informed the nation's first set of universal gun laws, what would be known as the National Firearms Agreement. Even with broad public support, the NFA was hard won. Queensland, the Northern Territory, and Western Australia refused to agree to the NFA for months and pushed for semi-automatics to remain legal as long as they were crimped, or modified to carry limited rounds. Only after Howard threatened to expand federal power did they join the nationwide program. In some places, the NFA was bitterly resented. During speaking tours intended to explain and promote the program, Deputy Prime Minister Tim Fisher was burned in effigy in the Queensland state of Gympie, while Prime Minister Howard donned a bulletproof vest when speaking in Sale, Victoria. With all states and territories signed on by the middle of 1996, the agreement flipped Australia's loose, decentralized gun laws on their head. What was once a system so scant that a law student reading through gun statutes thought there were pages missing had suddenly become one of the world's most thorough. Every gun and gun sale now had to be recorded in a national registry. Anyone who owned or sought to own a gun needed to prove they had a genuine reason. Crucially, in the eyes of Australian policymakers, self-defense was not one. Semi-automatic rifles and shotguns were now banned except for when a farmer or professional shooter could prove genuine reason.
It's still killing people.
Sorry for pausing so much. Curious, what do you think about, if you're Australian living in Australia, what do you think about the current gun control climate, and what do you think about this? Like, what were your thoughts when this happened? Comment it down below. I'm really curious to hear what you guys' opinions are.
Gun owners now needed to be 18 or older, needed to pass a safety course, and had to...
It's still killing people. Self-defense. You know, it's still fucking killing people in the way.
By strict gun storage rules. And if in possession of a newly prohibited gun, Australians now had 12 months to surrender it and receive fair compensation, funded by a one-time Medicare levy. A year later, Australia had confiscated and destroyed 650,000 guns, and it did so under budget, as the project cost Australian taxpayers around $360 million. So, did it work? Did the sweeping, disruptive reforms of the National Firearms Agreement actually save lives? Well, in the decade leading up to the Port Arthur Massacre, the country experienced 12 shootings with at least 4 fatal victims, totaling 98 individuals killed. In the decade after the Port Arthur Massacre, Australia experienced none. In fact, in the 26 years since, there have been only 3 mass shootings with a total of 12 victims. Proponents point to this as the conclusive piece of evidence that Australia's gun restrictions were a masterstroke of public policy. A single maneuver that solved a massive, deadly problem. But others are quick to point out that mass shootings are a relatively rare event. Even during Australia's most notorious and deadly decade of shootings, they occurred just over once a year. While undoubtedly tragic on a human level, from a statistical standpoint, this frequency instills relatively low confidence in any observed trend. The confidence is lowered yet further when glancing back another decade. From 1976 to 1986, there were just 2 shootings with 10 total victims. So, was the 10 years starting in 96 the deviation from the trend, or was it the 10 years starting in 86? Especially in the context of mass shootings, where shooters get inspired by shooters who get inspired by shooters, was there simply a spate of violence followed by a regression to the mean? To determine this, one can substitute this low-frequency statistic for a higher-frequency equivalent. The more data points, the more one can be confident in causation over mere correlation. While the National Firearms Agreement was implemented in response to a mass shooting, it was concurrently designed to address all types of gun violence. So, Australia's overall firearm mortality rate can be used as a proxy metric in examining the policy's effectiveness. In 1996, the year of the Port Arthur Massacre, this rate sat at 2.84 gun deaths per year per 100,000 people. Today, it's just 0.9. A 3-fold drop in less than 3 decades surely proves that gun control curbed gun violence, but some are quick to respond that trends don't mean anything in isolation. Glancing backwards, firearm fatality in Australia was already on the decline, and the drop from 2.84 was just a continuation of the drop from 4.7. Prior to 1996, according to research led by gun policy expert Philip Alpers, the rate of decline was an average of 3% a year. Post-1996, however, it accelerated to 4.9, a meaningful, measurable, near doubling in rate right after the most significant gun policy reform in decades. Now, while certainly stronger, there are still potentially holes in this proof. One could, and some have argued, that this too could be random chance. That the rate of decline had the option of staying the same, or decelerating, or accelerating post-1996, and it just so happened that the third option occurred. But there is yet another method of establishing causality, a method that has real-world, practical evidence behind its effectiveness. It's called rare event predictive modeling. You see, predictive modeling for common events is fairly straightforward. A streaming service like Netflix, for example, will use troves of data to build out a model for how long it expects a given customer to stick around based on factors like their age, home address, gender, and more. This model is useful since if the company learns that a given sign-up in Illinois, for example, stays subscribed on average 4 months longer than a given customer from Massachusetts, the company can afford to spend more marketing to those Illinois-based customers since their lifetime value is higher. Netflix and others rely on the sheer quantity of data points to build out highly specific, highly accurate models like this. The rarer an event becomes, though, the tougher it is to build out an accurate predictive model. But it's not impossible. And the reason why it's not impossible is because time and money have been poured into developing and validating predictive models for rare events thanks to the massive industry it makes possible: insurance. How the insurance industry works is simple. Individuals are way more afraid of having a 1 in 10,000 chance of having their home
You define your greatness. Get hands-on skills in nursing at TAFE Queensland.
robbed and having to spend $100,000 to replace things than having a 1 in 10 chance of breaking their microwave and having to spend $100. That's despite the fact that in either scenario, the average person is going to be out $10 either way. $100,000 divided by 10,000 is $10, and so is $100 divided by 10. While in isolation illogical, this bias is in reality pragmatic, since far more people can weather a $100 expense than a $100,000 one without going into debt and financial hardship. Therefore, what insurance does is aggregate 10,000 people with that 1 in 10,000 chance together and charge them each $10 so that the one of them that does get robbed doesn't go into financial ruin. Except, they don't really charge them $10.
Yeah, they charge like a hell of a lot more than 10.
They charge them, say, $11 so that they can turn a profit, but in order to do this, they need to determine what the likelihood of a given individual getting robbed is. And again, the events that insurance companies insure against are by their very nature rare because those are the ones people are worried about. Therefore, insurers need to take in a minuscule number of data points and build a predictive model based on them. If they do it wrong and consider home robberies more common than reality, they'll overcharge and a competitor will come in, undercut their prices, and capture all their customers. If they consider it less likely than reality, they'll run out of money from paying out more to robbed customers than they take in. Without diving into the mind-numbing mathematics behind rare event predictive modeling, the proof that it works is that the insurance industry exists. The proof is that these companies can only make a profit if they've accurately predicted the commonality of events as rare and unlikely as sinkholes, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, missile attacks, plane crashes, bear attacks, and more, damaging and destroying homes. The same rare event predictive modeling techniques were applied in research led by Simon Chapman of the University of Sydney's School of Public Health. He and his co-researchers looked at the data on Australian shootings in the same way an insurer would and built a rare events predictive model that indicated between 1996 and 2018, when the study was conducted, there should have been 16.3 mass shootings in the country, with a minimum of 65 fatal victims. In reality, there were just 2. Building on that baseline, the researchers were able to calculate the likelihood that this trend could be explained simply by random chance, that the rarity of mass shootings meant that their 22-year absence was merely a data anomaly. The answer was 1 in 200,000. That's to say, there's a chance that the absence in mass shootings in Australia post-1986 was caused by the natural ebb and flow in their occurrence, but that chance is 1 in 200,000. Meanwhile, there's a 199,999 in 200,000 chance that something other than random chance.
Today we're going to be reacting to top 10 actors never knew were Australian. Now, to preface this video, I gotta say, I don't know any actors from Australia. And we can go even further and talk about musical artists. The only artist I know of that's from Australia is the Kid Laroi. Everyone knows who the Kid Laroi is. He's on top of the world right now. But aside from that, Lorde is from New Zealand, I believe. And other than that, the list just drops off there. Some of that's because of my age. I don't really watch movies that often. I'm not too filled in with pop culture and things of that nature. So there's that. But I think it also has to do with America. We don't really look to Australia for much of anything. Australia is just such a foreign thing to so many people. If you ask them what they would know about Australia, they just say kangaroos. You know what I mean? So top 10 actors you never knew were Australian. I'm really excited to get into this and find people who I really never knew. They're like, wow, this is from Australia. That's crazy. So yeah, let's get right into it. Hit the like button, guys. Hit subscribe. Let's go.
Australia is known for its beautiful beaches, outback, and of course, overly large and poisonous animals. However, that's not the only thing. Australia is also known for producing some of the greatest actors of our generation, with them nailing any accent or dialect they're required to do. Yet, a lot of people don't know these actors are in fact Aussies. However, I'm here to out them all. So today on Top 10 Beyond the Screen, I'm going to be counting down our list of the top 10 actors you never knew were Australian. Before we begin though, be sure to stick around until the end of the video where I'll be responding to some of your comments. Let's jump in.
Okay.
Coming in at 10, Hugh Jackman. I mean, of course he's on our list. While most at this point may know this actor doesn't hail from the States, some younger viewers may not.
Bugs, you gonna strip.
On the blonde,
This is the least no one's gonna pay to ride.
Star of X-Men, Les Miserables, Greatest Showman, and Prisoners, Hugh Jackman was actually born and raised in New South Wales, Australia, appearing early on in his career in shows such as Corelli and Snowy River before landing his breakout role in 2000's X-Men as Logan, aka Wolverine. After that, his career well and truly took off, with the actor being one of the most sought after in the industry, appearing in works such as Van Helsing, The Prestige, and The Frontrunner. It took years for folks to learn that this actor was an Aussie, with his American accent being better than most Americans. Don't fight me on that. Coming in at 9,
I've seen clips of the Wolverine, but I didn't know who that was. But that clip they showed of that American accent was spot on. Really impressive. So, okay, let's get to number 8.
Jason
Or
Clarke.
not.
Jason Clarke is an incredibly
Jason Clarke.
versatile actor with roles in films such as Mudbound, Everest, Zero Dark 30, Pet Sematary,
Zero
and
Dark
First
30.
Man.
That's definitely not Boston.
Here we go. Okay, so what do you think?
Wow. This whole place is ours?
However, thanks to his flawless American dialect, many don't even realise that this actor hails from Queensland, Australia. Jason began his career in his mid-20s, appearing in TV shows such as Water Rats and Blue Heelers, before landing a reoccurring role on the popular soap opera Home and Away. His big international break was when he landed a role alongside Shia LaBeouf and Michael Douglas in Wall Street, Money Never Sleeps, before going on to appear in Lawless, Texas Killing Fields, and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. This dude just doesn't stop. Coming in at 8,
It's making sense how I'm not really getting these because they're kind of towards the end of the list, coupled with the fact that I am not the best with movies and remembering actors. But I'm sure towards the end of this list I'm going to get some. So, I'll wait for
Emily de Raven.
This is our appetizer.
She's supposed to be back. She's not back.
What am I now, one of your suspects?
You act like one.
My dad doesn't take care of people. He just doesn't know what's going on right now.
What's going on, man?
Emily de Raven has popped up in many smash hits over the years, mostly opting for smaller indie roles, but once in a while landing a big Hollywood gig. De Raven, of course, shot to fame when she starred as Claire Littleton in Lost, which ran from 2004 to 2010. However, prior to that, she also appeared in the popular TV series Roswell as Tess Harding. Many still don't know that de Raven is Australian, with the actress being born and raised in Mount Eliza, Victoria. However, she didn't always want to be an actress. When she was 15, she was accepted at the highly selective Australian Ballet School in Melbourne, before dropping out and undertaking acting and landing her first role in the TV series Beastmaster. As of now, you won't find de Raven in much, with the star just last year wrapping on Once Upon a Time. However, she does have one TV movie in the works called Scorned, which is set to be released next year. Coming in at 7, Joel Edgerton.
Yeah, but
I didn't even know she was sick. I never even got the chance to say goodbye to my own mother.
Joel Edgerton is a highly sought-after actor these days, with a career that ranges from comedy, drama, horror to full-scale action films, with the actor appearing in works such as The Gift, The Great Gatsby, Red Sparrow, It Comes at Night, and Midnight Special. However, little did some fans know, Joel Edgerton was born and raised in New South Wales, Australia. His brother Nash is also in the industry, but as a stunt...
He's got a great name. Still, guys, I still not recognize any of these actors. So, I recognize the film names and the shows. So it's just my bad for not knowing because I've never seen them. But yeah, these are big actors here from Australia with these. A lot of people will never even know that because their American accents from these clips I've seen are literally spot on. Like they're more American than a lot of Americans.
coordinator,
Crazy.
even being Joel's stunt double on a handful of films, including The Great Gatsby, Zero Dark 30, and The Night We Called It a Day. Joel attended the Nepean Drama School in 1994, with the actor finally breaking into the industry in 2001 when he starred in the Australian TV series The Secret Life of Us, before landing his big international break in Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clones, playing Owen Lars. Coming in at 6, Dominic Purcell. Born in England and raised in Australia, this Legends of Tomorrow star shocked everyone when it was revealed that he was in fact an Aussie.
You Harvey Oswald, Jungle Booth, Lincoln Burroughs. I'm gonna go down in history with these freaks.
This actor shot to fame when he appeared in Fox's hit 2005 TV series Prison Break, with the actor playing a wrongly convicted prisoner on death row. However, most will know him from the CW show Legends of Tomorrow, in which this Aussie plays criminal arsonist Heatwave. When growing up in Australia, Purcell lived a very blue-collar lifestyle and turned to a life of acting after growing bored of landscaping, following which time he enrolled in the Western Australia Academy of Performing Arts, with the actor being a classmate of fellow actor Hugh Jackman. Well, he clearly picked up some good tricks at school, because the actor masks his Aussie accent incredibly well, to the point that it still shocks some long-time fans when they hear him speak in his native accent. Coming in at 5, Rose Byrne.
I'd like to take this opportunity to honor Lil and Doug with a short poem I penned while sitting on a swing in an exclusive resort in Tallafiniki.
The secret Aussie rose to fame back in...
There's no way that's an Australian talking. What? Now, what I want to see the reverse, the roles reverse. Like, I want to hear some of the best Americans doing Australian accents, because these are crazy. There's no way.
2004, when she was cast in Troy alongside Brad Pitt, before going on to star in 28 Weeks Later, Bridesmaids, X-Men, and of course Insidious. Aside from Neighbours, you'll never find Rose Byrne speaking in a native accent on screen, with the actress mostly doing American or English accents, and nailing both of them time and time again. However, little did we know she was actually born in Sydney, New South Wales, with the actress making it big down under before relocating to the States and hitting the big leagues in Hollywood. As it stands, this Aussie is currently filming the TV series Mrs. America, where she plays Gloria Steinem, a real-life American feminist, journalist, and social political activist. So, of course, they turn to an Aussie to get the job done. Coming in at 4, Nicole Kidman.
An obligation to your own sanity.
I am attended by doctors everywhere. I am attended by doctors who inform me of my own interests.
Academy Award-winning actress Nicole Kidman has been in the entertainment industry since she was a teenager, appearing in films such as Moulin Rouge, The Hours, for which she earned the Academy Award, Cold Mountain, and The Others. However, many still don't know that this starlet is actually Australian, whether she was born in Hawaii to Aussie parents before moving down under once again. Her first film was one of my personal favourites, BMX Bandits, before hitting the big leagues in the States, starring in Days of Thunder, Far and Away, and To Die For. Famously, the actress married Tom Cruise, with the pair showing 2 children together before they parted ways in 2002.
Okay, she married Tom Cruise, though. I know that. That's crazy.
Nicole is now appearing in the popular HBO series Big Little Lies alongside some other heavyweight actresses, including Reese Witherspoon, Laura Dern, Shailene Woodley, Zoe Kravitz, and Meryl Streep. And in more recent news, it has been confirmed that she will be starring in the new Ryan Murphy film The Prom, alongside Meryl Streep, Ariana Grande, and James Corden. The film is set to be released in 2020. Coming in at 3, Travis Fimmel. Oh, Ragnar Lothbrok, gone too soon. Travis Fimmel played the beloved character on Vikings for 4 seasons, with few fans knowing that he actually hails from Victoria, Australia. The actor first hit our screens back in 2003 when he appeared in the Tarzan TV series, before going on to star in Vikings, Warcraft, and Maggie's Plan.
I always knew in my heart that I would see you again. But I never guessed it would be in such circumstances. Who can guess the plans and ways of the gods?
Far and Away, Vikings is his most notable performance, with the actor absolutely slaying the somewhat Old Norse/Swedish accent. The Aussie star was raised on a 5,500-acre dairy farm back in Lockington, Victoria, before moving to London and then on to the States. As it stands, he is set to appear in an untitled television series about Wyatt Earp, where he will of course be playing the American frontiersman. Another accent I'm sure he'll absolutely nail. Coming in at 2, Kate...
Sure of it too. We don't even need to hear it. It's like... why that is. It's crazy. And these are like big time commercial actors. These aren't just, these random, like a random indie film. Like they're working with, I'm recognizing the actors they're working with. I'm recognizing some of the films and shows they're in. I'm just not recognizing them. So far, I've yet to recognize one of these actors. But I still understand, the glamour of it all and how these actors are. It's just, I still am impressed by their American impressions.
Kate Blanchett. Great Kate.
Dearest, there are no accidents, and no explanation I offer will satisfy you.
Best known for her roles in Carol, Blue Jasmine, Lord of the Rings, and The Aviator. Did you know this successful actress was actually born in Melbourne back in 1969? The actress made it big back in the 90s when she appeared in the TV miniseries Heartland, Elizabeth, The Talented Mr. Ripley, and Babel. She has over 70 credits to her name and has...
I know this.
Her number one.
Well, what's this thing called? Hold on, this is a What show was this? Was this...
been nominated for 6 Academy Awards, winning 2 for Blue Jasmine and The Aviator. It's hard to tell that this actress hails from Down Under, with the star nailing every single accent she is required to do for a role, particularly the English accents, with Lord of the Rings and Notes on a Scandal being some of her best performances. Honestly guys, Great Kate can do no wrong, and if you haven't seen Carol yet, do it. It's one of the greatest films to be made in the last decade. Honestly, I made this list just so I could talk about Carol. And finally, coming in at number 1, Margot Robbie.
Daddy shouldn't waste his time. And from now on, it's gonna be nothing but short skirts around the house.
Now, unless you were paying attention to Margot Robbie's brief cameo appearance in The Big Short, then you might not be aware that she actually hails from Queensland, Australia, born in 1990. Yep, this actress is just 3 years older than me, and I'm well and truly triggered. She made her big break on Australian television when she landed the role of Donna Brown in the long-running series Neighbours before heading to the States to star in the short-lived series Pan Am. However, the film that gave her the biggest break was The Wolf of Wall Street, where she absolutely nailed the Brooklyn accent. This was perhaps the first film folks
hailing from Down Under.
Let's watch this now, yo.
Did you know that most garage doors
Fucking
don't lock
ads.
when they shut? So you could protect your garage with one of these. Or you could just get a B&D garage door, because when a B&D door is shut, it can be locked shut. Is your garage as safe as can B&D?
Yo guys, what is going on? JPS back with another video, and today we're going to be reacting to German houses versus American houses. I don't really know what to expect. I have no idea what German houses are like, so this is entirely new to me, but I'm very excited to learn about it. So with that being said, guys, hit the like button, hit subscribe, and let's figure out what these differences are, shall we?
If you're an American and you're thinking about moving to Germany, I'm going to share with you 10 differences between German houses and American houses. What's up everybody, I'm Steve Miguel and you're watching XP Life Now. On this channel, I share with you new things that I learned and experienced as it pertains to travel and different cultures. So if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. There's a lot of differences between German houses and American houses, but this video won't be all inclusive. I'm just going to share with you 10 things that I feel are an important thing to know if you're considering moving to Germany. So the first major difference is actually not in the house at all. German houses are typically close together in a community. Since I've been here, I've never seen a house that was just off by itself. Compared to the US, it's very common for houses to be separated by a kilometer or so, especially in rural areas like in the South. The second major difference is German houses tend to be built up. I've never seen a house that was only one floor. Typically, it's at least 2 floors. The house that I live in is actually 3 floors. Versus in the US, it's very common to find houses that are only 1 floor. The third major difference.
The first difference, you can attribute that to Americans wanting to be independent. Second difference, the reason why there's a lot of one-story houses in America is because we have tornadoes, hurricanes, and a lot of adverse weather. That would be an interesting video to check out what the general climate is like in Germany specifically, and what the weather is like and what you guys get hit with.
This is the carport.
Got a
For
BMW
German houses,
for the
it's a
garage.
common thing to have the
German
carport
garage.
separated from the house.
Don't
Sometimes
get me
you'll have
started
one
with
like
fucking
mine
German
where
garage.
it's just a cover.
They know
Other
how to
times
fucking
you'll actually have one that you can close.
increase their monster.
Now this is different from the US where the garage is usually a major piece of the house and is actually attached to the house. It also serves as another point of entry into the house. and typically they're made to fit 1 or 2 cars. So the fourth major difference between German houses and American houses are the doors. The only way to lock the doors in German houses are with the key. Another thing to note is that if you don't have your key when you go outside, you could potentially be locked out of the house because, as you can see, most doors don't have any kind of doorknob. So when you close it, it's shut, and you have to have a key in order to open it. The fifth major difference between German houses and American houses is the heating. In my house and in most German houses, you have radiators to heat the house up. And what's cool about these things is they're all throughout the house in every single room. And you only heat the rooms that you are in.
Of course.
For example, I spend most of my time downstairs, so I almost never turn on the ones on the second and third floor, including the bedroom because I like my bedroom cold. The sixth major difference between
that makes a lot more sense. And you save a lot of money with that. I imagine. Wonder why we. That makes so much sense, bro. Having like. Okay.
German houses and American houses are the refrigerators. In most German homes, your fridge won't actually look like a fridge, but will look like a ordinary cabinet. It does not have a freezer, which is something that I think is pretty standard. I've been in quite a few German homes and I have yet to see a freezer. Typically, all refrigerators within American houses will also be a freezer. The seventh major difference between German houses and American houses is that German houses don't have closets. So most of the time you have to buy something like a wardrobe in order to store your clothes. In American houses, every single bedroom will have a closet for you to put your clothes in. So the eighth major difference between German houses and...
Okay, I see this guy's living in a very modern house, so I'm taking what he says with a bit of a grain of salt. Like the refrigerator completely blending in with the rest of the interior in the kitchen. Is that really something that's universal to a lot of German houses? Because a lot of these are blanket statements. Like, not every room in the U.S. has a built-in closet. That's just not true. But so far, this has been generally correct on my side. So I want to know in the comments, you know, is this accurate information, or is this simply, you know, this guy's, you know, perspective? Let me know, guys. Well, it's his perspective, but, you know, that bias.
And American houses are the windows. The first thing I want to point out about the windows are the Rolladens. Rolladens are these metal or plastic shutters that you can let either up or down, depending on what you want to do. The second thing I want to point out about the windows is that there are two different ways that you can open them. If you don't want to open the window all the way up so that you don't have to deal with bugs and potentially birds flying in, all you have to do about this point. Even with it like this, I can already start to feel the cool air start to come in.
That's nice. That's really nice.
But if you want to completely air out the room, the window actually comes all the way open. And all you have to do is turn the knob to the side, and now the window opens all the way. To lock it, just turn it down. Now, there's no standard window for American homes. But one of the things that really comes in handy that you find in the U.S. but won't find in Germany are screens.
Yeah.
Typically in America, windows
we all have
with
those
screens in order to keep the bugs out if you want to open it up. The ninth major difference between German houses and American houses are the ceilings. Looking at German houses from the outside, they tend to have very steep chimneys.
Roof?
They tend to have very steep chimneys.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And you actually see that when you go into the house. So you definitely want to take this into consideration when you think about the different types of furniture that you want to buy or move over here. The last major difference between German houses and American houses.
There's a faster way to get that money, y'all.
Fuck off, man. No.
Or the bathrooms. specifically the toilet and the tubs.
Yeah, but
Couple things I want to point out about the toilet. If you'll notice, it does not have a back tank to it that is visible or accessible. Also, it doesn't go into the floor. And typically what you'll find in American houses is the toilet will be mounted onto the floor, and it'll have a water tank in the back. Another thing I want to point out about the toilet is that German toilets don't have a lot of water in the bowl. The hole is typically far in the, like way in the back, and you have like all this flat space in the toilet. So you have to do a really good job aiming, or you're gonna have to use the brush to clean it. Also, with German toilets, they do a really good job flushing compared to American toilets. The toilets in America,
well, that's that German engineering. Like, come on. I will say the aesthetic of the toilet kind of floating and not being connected to the ground certainly looks better, along with the tank not being visible. But I wonder how great that is when there's problems with the toilet, because that tank being visible, oftentimes you can kind of go in there and fix some things yourself rather than having a contractor come out or plumber fix it for you. But, you know, maybe it just won't break in the first place because it's German. I don't know.
When you flush them, unless you're in a public restroom, when you flush them, they tend to do, they do this swirl. The water comes in and it does this swirling motion and to drain out. But with German,
he's really going in depth with these toilets.
Is actually over here. Question of the day. What are some things that you liked about German houses that you would like to incorporate into your own? I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like.
Alright guys, that was interesting. I still am very curious as
Clickers, one of the most
fuck off. There you are. Down. Here we go.
Yo guys, what is going on? JP is back with another video, and today we're going to be reacting to the don'ts of visiting Germany. This video comes from Walter's World, and interestingly enough, before my trip to the UK, I watched a bunch of his videos on the don'ts of visiting Britain and certain things you should and shouldn't do in Britain, and they were incredibly accurate. Almost everything he said was just a straight up fact, especially when it came to the don'ts of visiting Britain. I ended up visiting, and you know, that was true. So this is the don'ts of visiting Germany. Hit the like button, hit subscribe, and let's find out what are some things we definitely shouldn't be doing in Germany when we visit, because hey, you know, we're gonna travel the world at some point, so we'll be in Germany at some point for sure.
Hey there, fellow travelers. Mark here with Walter's World. Today we're in Munich, and today what we have for you are the don'ts of traveling Germany. Because there's so many things you should do, like visit Munich here, or going to Berlin, or the Harz Mountains. There's so many great things to do here, but there's a few cultural don'ts you should know, so when you come here, you can have a better time. And the first don't I have for you is, don't assume Germans are these cold, unfriendly, uncaring people that we've kind of been taught by stereotypes throughout the years. Germans are actually really wonderful people. They're helpful, they're kind, they're honest, extremely honest. And the thing is, to see that, you need to ask them for your help. Ask them for some guidance, and they'll be glad to help you. And that's the thing is, some people think, oh, German service isn't very nice. Well, the thing is, German service is very professional. And if you ask them for help, I guarantee they will know the entire background of every meal you have and everything in the shoe store and all kinds of stuff. They'll be able to help you. But don't think that they're these cold-hearted people, because Germans really are super nice. And if you make a German friend, I guarantee they will be with you until the end. They make the best friends ever. So that's the first thing, is don't think they're bad people. Now my second don't for you is, don't cross against the light. You know, don't jaywalk.
Yeah.
Germans really like their rules, and they really don't like people breaking them. And that will mean tourists as well. And one of the biggest things is crossing when the light is red. They don't like that. I lived multiple years in Germany, 3 years in Germany, and there's been quite a few times where a grandma, an Oma, stops me and says, hey, bei Rot musst du stehen, bei Grün lass du gehen, which means by red you stay, by green you're allowed to go. And that's one of the things, is the Germans do like those rules, but the biggest one that a tourist doesn't want to do is don't jaywalk.
Ready?
Also, you can get a fine for that, so, you know, heads up on.
What is it? Let's go over here. Down here. We'll fuck over here pretty much. Right. Right. Here we do. Right. No, in the bathroom. Yeah. Right there.
Done.
Let's go.
Done.
Put your hair, you bitch. Oh, hi. It's the next day. I fucked you know. She cooked me up a pizza. Now she's back in here, yo. Let's go to out here for the day. Press play.
Try our natural probiotic
Have
Kefir
one
yogurts with
today.
14 active strains.
Okay, see what this bow can do? And so I sat there bowing at the Ravager for a while and was able to take it down. After that I started shooting the second one down in the distance and ended up coming closer, and I used the same strategy to take it down. I ran out of arrows right when I needed to get one more shot on the Ravager to defeat it, so I had to come closer and...
I guess I'll see a month later, a week later. Who the fuck knows? But by then I'll be at school or here, wagging. So yeah, I'll see you then. Bye for now. Bye.